can't relate to how to do it on a birth consultation or, on a doula consult call yet
Yeah.
because in my experience, the way my consult calls are coming in, that I already know that they're speaking to multiple doulas.
Yeah.
Um, and the way I've been approaching it, and I totally want to shift my mind around that and be more like, what you're teaching us. The way I've been approaching it is like, oh yeah, okay, well, definitely talk to his, I'm playing it nice and I want to be nice,
Yeah.
but I'm like, talk to other doulas and see how you feel. Um, but then to me, it's a layered thought process because it's like during that consult call, I should already know, do I want this person as a client? Because I think for me, that's important.
Oh yeah.
I'm qualifying them for myself. Do I want to work with them? Because I've already had the experience of like, I'm acting like I want the business, but then I pull away from the call and I'm like, oh, I don't want that client. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a clash, and I
Yeah.
was right and I shouldn't have taken it. So I'm learning from that. But okay, so it's layered. I'm qualifying them and okay, I think I want her and the time frame works and blah blah blah. Then the part that I'm like gulp, like how do I ask for the sale
Yeah.
without sounding like I've put that pressure on her,
Right.
even though I know and she knows I know that she's gonna call other doulas, or she still has other doulas booked to chat with.
Yeah, okay. So this is such a great topic and I know you're not alone in this. And hey Rachel. So let's talk about this as a whole. Number one, I think there is always room for every single one of us, myself included, to really intentionally call in the mamas that are aligned. Like, obviously, it's not a perfect science. Obviously, like, especially when agencies are involved and things like that, it's not a guarantee. But at the end of the day, I think we could all sit with, like, how can I create content? How can I put myself out there? How can I adjust my profiles or my bios or um, the things that I've got on different directories to really call in my kind of mamas. So that's number one. And that's something I think we all have to like sit with, journal, test things out. Like it's not a one and done, right? And then secondly, I think there is room for some tr what I call triage, and we touched on this, hey Danielle, just a little bit about can we send this mama like an application or a questionnaire, or can we hit her up in the DMs before the consult and get a few things, questions answered, and where is there room to add in just that little bit of like triage to again just like take another step um closer to making sure there's that alignment. And that's kind of a win-win too, because not only does it make sure more so watch for red flags or like green flags or all the things, but then also it shows like a sense of professionalism and some nurturing and gets them excited to show up on the call. So it kind of has like a win-win. So that's like before we even get on the consult. And then if you're on the consult and you're feeling like this is within alignment, like there's nothing that's got your body going like I shouldn't sign her even if she wants me, and you're feeling like all roads are leading to this is a good fit, I'm gonna give you like just a few ways to ask for the sale and we could talk through them. And some are more direct than others. So like you could literally say something like, I would absolutely love to support you. And if it feels like a good fit on your end too, because it's feeling like a really good fit on my end, I've got to ask you, like, are you ready to move forward and lock in a spot for that month while I have the opening? Okay, so that one's definitely a little more direct. You could say something like, I know this is a really big decision, and I want you to feel really good about it, fully aligned. Is there anything that you're still wondering about, or are you feeling ready to make this official? Are you feeling ready to take the next step? So that one's a little less direct because we're giving her options. We're opening the door for her to like bring up any hesitation. But we're also opening another pathway if she's ready to go. Okay. And we're almost like assuming the sale. Okay. So that one's, in my opinion, a little less direct because we're giving her options, right? Um,
Yeah.
you could also say something like, if you're feeling like I'm the right fit for you, the way that I'm feeling that you're the right fit for me, I would be absolutely honored to support you. Would you like me to walk you through what the next steps would look like? I like that one because you're asking permission. Like you're not gonna like shove the next steps down her throat. You're asking for permission. And by her actually saying, "Yeah, I want to hear about that," it's almost like confirming for you and validating that you're not being pushy at all. She's actually asking for it. She's asking for
Yeah.
the information. And then you could say something like, um, yeah, same idea. Based on everything you shared with me, like I know in my heart that I can 100% support you in creating the birth experience that you just described and that you're envisioning. And if you're feeling really good about this, I can send over the contract and the deposit details today if that's something that you want. So yeah, let's see. Maggie, thank you for sharing and just being open and real because this is absolutely one of those like journeys where it's gonna like have ups and downs and we're not just going to like nail it every single time. And when the mama's not very talkative, it's really tough. And it's maybe like your nervous system was honestly like protecting you in a way, like, and I just want you to give yourself such grace because the fact that you are here and have made such progress already in the program with other consults, I just want you to know that like it's okay. Like when I was a personal trainer, I would tell my clients, like, if you're working out regularly and eating better regularly, and then you have a day where you kind of fall off the wagon, it does not negate all the progress at all, and if anything, having a consult that isn't like your best just gives you really good information. Yeah. And I appreciate you normalizing the ups and downs because we're humans, you know? I mean, I had a sales call today that I honestly like thought about after and I was like, probably not my best work. And I will debrief it later and I'll try to put my finger on it, but sometimes it just doesn't go as well? So I appreciate that honesty. TJ, how are those asks feeling? And do you want to like talk about the actual ask anymore?
Um, yeah, I think I just want to have on hand
Yes.
the script so I know the verbiage because
Yep.
I get flustered like in the
Yeah.
moment and I might forget.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I definitely like that approach, what you were saying, where you're summarizing, hey, this is what we've done, and if I'd love to support you if you're feeling aligned. Would you be open and ready to walk through the next steps? Because that's kind of what I want. I want to keep it moving. I don't want to be like waiting to see,
Yeah.
oh, is she gonna call me back? Or
Totally.
I'm sure we all want that,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's better and it's more. I also loved in your just a comment in your last uh call, just like taking that. It really resonated with me that taking the leadership
Yeah.
role in it because. Yeah, I feel like when we're in the consult situation, it just feels like a date.
Yeah.
But if it's more like, oh no, is it important to you that you are X, Y, and Z for your birth, for your pregnancy, for postpartum? And okay, if that's the case, then this is my process and I'm the leader or the expert or whatever. Like, because then I feel confident. It sets me up to say, okay, if that's important to you and you feel aligned, then let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I definitely the leadership thing, because everyone in this room right now is a leader. 100%, you wouldn't be here otherwise. You definitely wouldn't own your own business otherwise. And so I just think that like that is something that we can all kind of like step into. Like when I say that, I truly believe everybody here is like, I know what it feels like to be a leader, right? In my own unique way with my own warmth and unique vibe. And so I think like if we can reframe it as I am leading this mother to the next step so that she can have what she told me she really wants,
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so different than selling somebody into
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of like that makes me feel better than even thinking of it as
Yep.
sale. It's like, hey, you're speaking to me because you're looking for someone with this expertise
Yep.
and it's important to you because of this. And if that's the case and you feel aligned, I feel aligned, here's what's next. Let's move it along.
Yeah, I love that. And the last thing is you had touched on originally, I think, about well, what if this mama said that she's going to interview other doulas, or what if I know she's
Yeah.
interviewing other doulas, and like how does that play into the ask?
Yes.
I think that like there is no right or wrong answer, but we want to make the ask for so many reasons. Number one, we want to assume the sale. So, despite what
Yeah.
your logical brain or your nervous system is telling you in that moment, at the end of the day, we want to assume the sale. And so, I think it's okay to make the ask, which is going to almost always lead us to handling the objection. And when I say the word objection, if anybody gets like, ugh, that's my least favorite part. Like, my goal is by the end of this program, you no longer feel that way because the objection is an invitation and an opportunity. And without it, we kind of hit a wall. So, like you said, you like to keep this in momentum, you want to keep it moving. And the truth is, if we don't make the ask, then they aren't going to come up with an objection because they don't have to. And then we're going to get off that call or get out of that face-to-face experience and not really have anywhere to go from there, right? Like the follow-up is going to be 10 times harder if we don't know what their objections are. So I want you to also think of asking for the sale as like twofold. We want to assume the sale. It is our way of leading them to the next step so they can have the solution that they wanted, but then it's also going to give us that valuable information. So if I say something like one of the examples I gave you, would you like me to walk you through what the next step is to getting on my calendar? And then if that mama comes back to you and says, well, I've got to think about it. Now, instead of just letting her off the hook and having no idea where her head's at, we're able to say, I totally hear you. This is a big decision. Can you tell me, like, what specifically do you need to think through? While I'm here, I want to help support you through that and help you process it. Totally non-salesy, not pressuring. And you'd be amazed at what she comes back with. Like she might be like, well, it's more than I expected. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with me. I totally get that. Is this a budget issue truly, or is there something else? Right? And again, now we're giving them two pathways. And then if she's like, oh, this is well, I guess at the end of the day, like I'm worried that I'm not going to devote the time to the prenatals and I'm not going to get the most out of like the package. And if we're going to pay all that money, did it? And now again, you have somewhere to go. You can talk through the time issue and you can tackle the time objection in your unique way, right? But if she gets off the call because we don't say, hey, are you in? Hey, are you okay with me giving you the next steps? Hey, would you like me to send over a contract? If we don't ask that, we don't
Hmm.
know what objection is in her brain, and now we're just guessing.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
I like that.
I
Thank you.
I promise it'll get easier.
Yeah. Oh, one quick thing. When
Yeah.
you say assume the sale,
Yeah.
again, I'm familiar with that from a different industry, but in the birth work industry,
Yeah.
um, can you break that down a little bit so
Yeah.
it's just like more not
Yeah.
in my mind there's a voice saying, "Oh, how arrogant of you," or
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
whatever that I need to work on my mindset, but
No, no,
like
that's very
how
real.
dare you or
That's
how
that's very
do
real.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to say no, I'm assuming the sale
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's reasonable to assume the sale because XYZ.
Yeah,
What
because
would you
you
say?
you did such a good job, like really actively listening, really doing the 80/20 and only talking 20% of the time and like really letting her uncover like her own fears and her own desires and asking clarifying questions to fully grasp where she's coming from. And you did such a good job with that that like in your body right there, right now, like if it's a good fit. And if it's a good fit, we are going to assume the sale because you know that you can help her. So it's like very truthful. It's not like I'm going to assume the sale because I'm going to talk myself into believing that it's a good fit. Like you do know it's a good fit and you know that you have a solution to her problem or a service to support her, which is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what she told you she needs. So it's 10 times easier to assume the sale when you believe it. And the reason you believe it is you did such a good job digging into her reasons. And when we don't ask the right questions, when we don't get under the surface level stuff, subconsciously I think we are like, I don't know if I'm the right fit. And so now
Yeah.
it's way harder to assume the sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, these are great questions. And maybe for you, that doesn't, it's something else. Like maybe you tell yourself, I'm going to lead this mother to the support that she's looking for, but it's the same thing. But maybe you don't say assume the sale because that feels gross. You know, you have to come up with like maybe your own way of understanding that that's your duty. You know, you're doing
Mm-hmm.
your due diligence type thing.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Um, and then Maggie, I know this is going to be a reiteration, but just in case anybody wasn't on that call, you know, it is trickier when you're the first interview because especially if they say like I have three more doulas that I'm going to have consults with. One of my favorite things to say is something like, and I know you've done this because we've talked about it, but like, okay, great. I'm glad. I always recommend that mamas do at least two or three interviews with other doulas and my best advice is to look out for XYZ. Like kind of have something in your back pocket that is like, and I always recommend that you ask about or you watch out for or you're aware of and then try to like figure out like how you can differentiate yourself. So it's kind of like you're validating and acknowledging that multiple interviews make sense, but you're also like standing in that confidence of being like, "Oh, absolutely, you should interview other doulas." And if I were you, I would ask them this, or I would watch out for this, or I would keep in mind XYZ, because that's going to be very memorable for them. And then if there is a red flag that happens in that consult or something, like they're going to remember you and they're going to question it. Um, so that's probably something you'll have to sit with and reflect on and figure out and kind of have at the ready too. Um, and it's another great opener when you go to check in is like, I wanted to see how the other consultations felt and if they delivered on X or, you know, if you were able to really meet in the middle on that thing that we talked about or that fear of yours and like, and just trying to bring it back to how you offer support. Yeah.
Cool. And then I have a question like from what we
Yeah.
learned the other day. So I feel like I started the consult with like everything I learned in mind.
Yeah.
And so, I was like, hey, so what are your goals for this birth? Like, what are you wanting? And I mean, it was kind of not met with silence, but she was like, I just want a peaceful environment. And this birth center is like really beautiful. And so she was more talking about like the birth center, which I love this birth center. I love this
Yeah.
midwife. And I was like, yes, I think you picked the perfect location. I love the way that Margie operates and blah, blah, blah. And so I didn't know how to like sell myself when
Yeah.
her goal was a peaceful environment. And
Yeah.
and I was like, I'd love, to help to facilitate a peaceful environment for you. But she was so much more talking about like the birth center
Yeah.
vibes itself that I was like, I have nothing to go off of from
Yeah.
that.
That
So
is,
then
that's tough.
then I reverted back to just how I always do my sales. And I was like, oh no. Because like I felt like my like starting question from the heart-led method went nowhere. And I was like, oh crap. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and this is why this is such valuable data and 100% not like a failed consult by any means. I think we tweak that question. I think that we want to say, okay, there's going to be instances, not always, but there's going to be instances where I have like a less talkative mama. And so let's get a question that's a little more specific and kind of like forces her or leads me to an easier route of like clarifying questions. You know, so like maybe saying something like, when you say a peaceful birth, like, can you get more specific or tell me, like, what do you mean when you say a peaceful birth? And start digging into like, what does peaceful mean to her? Like, is peaceful, nobody's coming in the room? Is peaceful like nobody's asking her about interventions Is peaceful like no curveballs are thrown? Because now we have more to talk about because like at the end of the day, she's not going to have control over that, right? So I think there's like room for us, and today we're going to do a little bit of this, but there's room for us to take those questions and like see if there's any way to refine them and make them a little bit more specific, where they can't give you a blanket answer as easily. And then even if they do, kind of having those follow-up clarifying questions at the ready. So it's kind of like, because I'm guessing what happened, which is why this isn't a fault of yours by any means, is like she gave you such surface level stuff that it was really hard to like get on a deeper level. Like if she had said, peaceful to me means having a doula at my side that's been doing this for a really long time so that I can feel confident in that, like, no matter what curveball is thrown, like, she's already seen that once before. And then obviously, I'm saying that because then Maggie can swoop in and be like, I've been doing this for almost 10 years. You know what I mean? And so I think like she didn't give you a lot of specifics. And so this is a great opportunity for all of us to look at those questions and say, like, how can I make these more, and maybe have ChatGPT help us. How can I make these more specific, where they're going to dig under the surface better? And what are some clarifying questions that I can ask to really get underneath what she's saying out loud? Because chances are those first few things they say, like, aren't it? It's they're not comfortable yet, or they haven't really thought about it. And maybe taking the goals and breaking that into like two questions to kind of give them an idea of like what would be like what would constitute a peaceful birth for her, or what could derail a peaceful birth for her. And now you have like an opening into her fears and like the worries. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, asking more clarifying questions makes total sense. Right when you said that, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I could have
Yeah.
easily just asked, like, explain that to me or, whatever. So,
Yeah, but in the
sure.
moment it's hard. In the moment we're almost like, okay, I didn't love that answer, but so I'm going to try another one. So like you're a human. I mean, that makes total sense to me. Like, but I think we need to sit in the discomfort for a split second and say like, let's try to go deeper before moving on. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I have never in my life done a breakout room. Like I've been on the recipient end of a breakout room, but I've never facilitated one. So this is either going to go well or be a crash and burn, and we will make it work regardless. So here's my thought before anybody panics. Okay. This is totally optional. And my thought is I want to put you guys into breakout rooms. And when you get in there, you can decide like, am I comfortable having a little role play or not? Do I want to be the one offering the consult, or do I want to be the pregnant mama? If none of that feels good, that's okay too. We can look at our own heart-led flow and maybe work as a team in the breakout room to just like refine our questions and feel more comfortable with like what we're going to actually say. So there's lots of options, and I'm really not pressuring anybody to do anything. So when I hit breakout room button, I don't even know what's going to happen. We're just going to flow with it. If it works where everybody's paired off in either twos or threes, because we're oh no, it's perfect. So it's probably going to be pairs, okay? And then just start the conversation off with like, hey, here's what I have the capacity for today, or here's what I'm feeling comfortable with. Or worst case, if someone's like, I can't even talk right now because I'm multitasking, that's fine. Then just sit with yourself and kind of map out what your questions are going to be under each of the heart-led markers. And I will post that in the chat so you have a reminder of like what should I be figuring out in each one. And if you're feeling brave and you're feeling like it would be helpful, maybe one of you decide to be the consultant and one of you decide to be the pregnant mama or the postpartum mama, or like whatever your ideal client is, and maybe just spend 15 minutes kind of like asking some of those questions and practicing the clarifying questions, okay? And I'm going to give us 20 minutes because if you do decide to role play a whole thing out, I want you to be able to get some questions in and be able to ask for the sale and maybe even play around with some objections, okay? But this is not to stress anybody out at all, okay? Any questions before we do this? And then I will watch the clock. And then nothing about this can go wrong in terms of like we will have a debrief and we could be like, hey, this didn't really work or this did work or can we try this next time? And we'll see if this is something that makes sense to bring back. Okay. So I just want to take all the pressure off. All right. Okay. So I'm going to watch the clock and I'm going to hit breakout room and then we will reconvene in 20 minutes.
Lisa.
Oh, Lisa's here now.
Okay, what's going on? Not working?
We're all in the same room. So I
And
think
some people left.
when you did you put how many rooms you wanted?
How many people in each room, Lisa?
There should only be two in each room.
Okay.
And I will go back and see if I can make that work. And then we lost someone. We lost two people. So I
Yeah,
wonder if
Rachel and Maggie.
maybe they're in a room. So let me try
Yeah.
this again.
Okay. Let's get a room.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, yeah, you're all in the same room. So start over and see what happens.
Breakout rooms will.
Oh,
Hello?
she's back.
Oh, sorry, we're
I'm
gonna
back.
we're gonna try this again because everyone was in the same room.
I know we were all without you.
So, okay, assign. Huh. Why is this so hard?
It should just ask you like how many rooms you want. Is it not asking you that?
Yeah, it's not. And I wonder if it's because I like screwed it up initially, you know? It says all breakout rooms will close in 25 seconds. So let's give it the 25 seconds and then I'm gonna try this again. I mean,
You're good.
we knew it wasn't gonna work on
Yeah.
the first try. Like
No, you're good.
nothing technology has ever worked for me on the first try. Okay. 5 more seconds and then hopefully it'll let me pick how many rooms.
Oh, what happened?
We're gonna try this one more time.
Okay.
And did everybody get the heart method in the chat? Okay, good.
Mm.
Okay,
I
so
did not. Will you post it again?
yeah, for sure.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
I
So
don't
we're
know
just
that.
reading the script.
Well, this is just so you kind of know like what the different markers are and like where you might need some help with questions and things like that. Um, and just to
Okay.
get kind of like a flow. Okay. All right. So this is giving me the option to do recreate. Here we go. I think I got it. Let's try it again.
Oh, we
Oh.
got brought back.
Oh,
Oh,
how did
Thanks,
Oh no,
Natalie.
we
that
got
no
cut
problem.
off.
feel?
Thanks, Danielle.
Yay. How's
I
everybody
was telling
feeling?
I was telling TJ like she did a great job and like I gave the objection of shopping around for other doulas and also me and my partner had to think about it and I mean she handled it really very well. I was telling her before we came back to the main room that even if I had to talk to other doulas, I probably would have hired her.
Yay.
So, yeah.
Yay.
It
I
was
just
it was a
followed
really
your
great call.
script, Lisa.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love to almost like hear, like, we could go room by room and just give everyone an opportunity to just hear, like, what did that feel like? Where were you stuck? Where did it feel good? Like, I'm not really looking for anything specific, but there's some power in just like putting ourselves in those situations in a practice way, right? No pressure, just like getting us to think outside the box. So why don't we start with Natalie and TJ just because we're already on that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the doula and Natalie was the pregnant mama and
Wait.
um I just followed the heart method as I see it in the chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think where I felt a little stuck was like, oh, how am I gonna reveal the offer, that
Mhm.
step? But I don't know. I don't know, Natalie. I feel like it just rolled off and flowed.
Yeah, it definitely did.
And I just said, hey, if you feel aligned. Right before that, I did work on aligning the vision. She was saying like she is she doesn't want it to be so clinical and feel like, and her husband, she wanted a home birth or a birth center, and her husband wasn't okay with it. So they're meeting in the middle by having it at the hospital, but she still wants like a calm environment. So I kind of repeated it back to her and then said, here's how I can help with that. So I did that. I
Hmm.
showed how I could help. And then I actually feel like I went right into if you're feeling aligned, blah, blah, blah. Let's get you on the next, let's walk through next steps. That's what I said. Would you be open and ready to walk through the next steps?
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the point where I brought up the objection and I brought
Yes.
it up just because I think that's a challenging point for many
For
of
sure.
us
Yeah, I'm
to
glad you brought
handle.
it. I'm glad you did that.
Um, Yeah, no, but I think it was very helpful that TJ kind of repeated what I said because for me as like an individual, not even just a doula, it's important for me to feel heard and feel validated in regards to like what I'm saying. So for her to repeat it made me know that she was listening. But she also kind of added some pieces of like, okay, I hear that you want a room where there's not a lot of busyness in regards to nurses and she explained how it usually works, but she also explained how it's possible to make my desire work at the
Mm,
same time within the setting. So I think also her inputting how, like she said, how she can kind of help create my vision was extremely aligned and helpful to how our conversation went.
I love that. I love the specificity of that. And if I could get based on that scenario alone, if everybody could like as homework say, okay, how can I tie the things that this mama wants to what I offer? That I think is one of the trickier things to nail. Yeah. And so, like, if you're going to sit with anything, I definitely think that is a good place to sit and kind of map out for yourself because chances are you're going to get a lot of the same vision, especially as you start to dial in your messaging and pull in like the very aligned mamas. You're going to see similarities there and you're going to get better at that. So I love that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's make a note. I don't know, this isn't going to be a perfect system, but let's just kind of make a note that TJ was in the consultant role, just so that if in the future, Natalie, we get you an opportunity on a future
Yeah.
call for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Love it. We'll save Rachel for when she gets back. So, someone maybe just jump in because I already forgot who's in what room.
Ashley and I can go
Cool.
because it's fresh on my mind.
Yeah.
So she was the mom, I was the doula. I feel like it was very helpful. I loved it actually, but
Yay!
I feel like I sucked at it.
No.
And and I've got so I think my biggest thing that we came up with was like I need to stay in the emotions and keep pulling back the layers.
Yes.
Because my first instinct is to like not. And my second thing was so like she told me she signed up for the birth class. Then it's not in her budget. Then she's not feeling confident and it would be amazing to jump on a call with me. She actually emailed me for my freebie, like replied to one of my freebie emails yesterday. So she's peeling, like I feel like we're peeling back the layers through these
Yes.
combos. But my instinct now is to offer like it's not even my class. It's more so like she doesn't have a doula. And my instinct is to like do like doula support
Yeah.
instead or not instead in conjunction to so
Yeah.
but then it's like she already told me her budget, the class is out of her budget, so why on earth? And obviously I don't, I think it's more of a understanding the value.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why would I offer something bigger when she already told me that the class was out of her budget?
Yeah.
That's where I'm stuck with, is like knowing how to express the value like we've talked about. I just don't know how to express the value without listing
Right.
this is what you get with my class.
Right.
So that's where I'm
Yeah.
stuck, but I just have to keep working through.
Yeah. And maybe like one way to tackle it is taking your unique approach, your method, your framework, like whatever you call it, and however it kind of like works within your business, and figuring out like what that would look like for her specifically based on what you know about her now. I know it's not easy, but like I think that you're able to um pull back a little bit and say, okay, because at the end of the day, it's very possible that she threw the budget objection out just to kind of like just to give herself time and space to not have to say no. But that doesn't mean that we can't like reopen the conversation and say, the more I get to know you and the more I understand like what you're looking for and the more like impressed I am with how you were taking the initiative and like taking steps to get to what you want, the more I've got to ask, like, are you feeling called to have a doula? Because like what I'm hearing is XYZ, and you know, this is typically how I've supported other clients, and based on what you're telling me, like I see that being fully aligned, and just kind of like see what it feels like to reopen the conversation and get her to maybe like consider a different service or a bigger service. It's hard to backtrack, but at the same time, like you didn't know all of this stuff about her before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you were the doula and Ashley was the mom. And
Yeah.
then were there any like sticking points? Like I know you said it's the default for all of us probably is to just list the features, right? So I think like why don't we just play around and everyone could kind of do this for their own offer, but like give us a couple features, Jamie, to work with, and maybe we could work on like tying them to the emotion to just get us all in that like practice.
So I did say in the meeting that I think a big thing with my class is it really focuses on mindset, instead of just the education piece, and that is in there. But like most of like this mom, for example, has already had a baby, and so the education piece I don't think is as important to her. It's
Okay.
confidence, it's mindset, and so well, that's the meat of my course is
Yeah.
we do the education, but the meat of my course is like digging into like mindset and how scripture applies to birth, and journaling and reflecting through that, and working through our underlying fears to get to a place of confidence, um,
I love it.
along with like that's where I'm like I want to like say like I do prenatal yoga, so a lot of like, and I think a lot of things in my course is I'm really focused on working on that inner work while you're pregnant and doing like the prenatal yoga while you're pregnant, because if you're doing these things during pregnancy it's going to become more instinctual during birth.
Yeah.
Like um you could watch all these, I keep thinking in my head like you can watch all these videos of like all these different movements that you can do for your if you haven't you're not going to be pulling up that video in the
Right.
middle of your birth. So like this is more like building things that are going to become ingrained in you so you feel confident that it's just going to come naturally and or more naturally when you're giving birth.
Yeah. So one way to think about it is that like let's play around with the idea that if a mama were to say like what she feels like she really needs in order to feel prepared for her birth, I doubt she's going to say like, "Oh, I got to fix my mindset," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we know that's what they need. So I think what we could focus on in this situation is to maybe use the questions as a way to get her talking about like where she's not confident, right? So maybe saying like you know, some of the work that I do with my clients or a ball or the like a main focus of the work that I do with my clients is helping them feel at peace with the outcome of their birth, no matter what goes down, right? And then saying some, maybe asking a question of like, how would you feel if your birth resulted in a C-section? And just kind of get her talking about like, the what ifs and the curveballs and like bringing it back to mindset in a very indirect way, right? Because like she's probably not going to say front facing, I got to work on my mindset, but she probably will say, I really want to avoid a C-section. And that gives you like some room to dig into like, well, why? Why do you want to avoid a C-section? Oh, well, because a C-section means something went haywire. Oh, well, can you be more specific? Like, what specifically are you afraid of? Oh, well, I don't want that like panicked energy in the birth space because I feel like I don't want to look back on my birth and it be, like a traumatic type of thing. So it's kind of like, you're getting her to really talk about what's underneath it all so that you can tie it back to the work that you do, which is basically getting her to admit that without mindset, without inner work, without the scripture, she's going to be like facing these unknowns and not really being prepared for that, like not having her nervous system prepared for that, not being able to like pull herself out of the panic herself, you know? So really trying to like get what we know they need to match what they think they want. And it's not easy, but you will get
No.
better at this with
I
practice.
mean, what you're saying is like so like amazing. And I'm like, I have no, I do not have any confidence in being able to get to that place with
You
someone.
will. You
Um, I
absolutely
will
will.
after several, but like on Friday, I don't think I'm getting there, but maybe I will.
And Friday is what, a call with her?
It's the call with this lady that keeps going back and forth.
Okay, cool.
So
Yeah. And you know what? I want you to look at Friday as like, I've got nothing to lose. Like, she already said no to me once. And
yeah,
the fact that she's on this call is massive progress, a total win. And so, like, I really just want you to go into that. Like, how can I connect on a deeper level and get her to really open up? And that's the goal,
yeah,
right? That is the goal. Like, if that's your only goal and you take a little bit of the pressure off of like her buying something from you on the call, I think that's going to help you kind of get to the nitty gritty of what she's really looking for, you know?
yeah, I like that.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
then I'm gonna try to get her to pay for more than what
Yeah.
she can afford.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah,
again, like, we don't even know, like, if that's really an affordability issue. We really
yeah,
don't know, you
yeah,
know? And I would definitely like, on the call when it gets to that place where you do ask for the sale, whatever you decide that offer looks like, if she throws the money objection at you again, I feel like you do have some tools in your armor now where you can say like, listen, a lot of times when somebody says they can't afford it, what they really mean is there's like a hesitation and I'm here present right now and I don't want to leave you hanging. You know, like, is there something underlying? Is there something else going on? Um, and just kind of like have those at the ready too. Yeah.
cool.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Who would like to go next? And then hopefully Rachel pops on before the end here. Oh, Eva got disconnected. Bummer. I don't.
It was me and Eva.
Okay, you ready to go?
So I was actually the pregnant mama. Um,
Okay.
So maybe you can watch this later, but she did a phenomenal job. She was like very nervous about it.
Here she comes. Here she comes. Perfect.
Like, hey. So the one thing that threw me at the beginning was she like asked me how I was doing, and then I don't know the way she worded her initial question of like, can we like, I like to dive in or can we get started? Like I thought she was gonna like go into her packages, so I was like, sure. I was like, wait, she's not following Heartland in like the back of my head, but then she went right into like the Heartland method, and
Great.
she out of me. And I mean, I was just me. Like if I had a third baby right now, but I wanted to do it. So
Yay. I love that. Eva, I'm glad you made it back. I don't know if you can talk, but it sounds like we're making some real connections here, which is awesome. Um,
Uh, yeah, I just got back on. If she could just bullet point what I did good and what I did bad, that would be really helpful. I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself.
no biggie.
the thing I said, Eva, was like the first question you asked me, like after you were like, hey, how you doing? How's your week? And then you asked me a question about something about like, can we just like dive right into I don't remember how you phrased it, but that was the one that question threw me when I was like, sure, because I was like, wait, she's not following Heartland, but that was like me thinking to myself, like, wait, I thought we were supposed to do it this way, but that's exactly what you did because you asked me about what my goals were for birth. I think was that first question, and then it just everything flowed from there. And I also wanted to say something that I love about Eva and her packages because my big thing if I have another baby is advocacy. So she has this advocacy toolkit, which is huge. That would be like what I would need. But then she has 2 postpartum visits. And for somebody that, like, I don't, the only reason I would have a birth doula is because of advocacy. I'm not afraid of birth. I've had 2 amazing births. But the fact that she talked about, she's like, well, yeah, I usually come to the hospital once and then I do 2 postpartums. I'm like, boom, you're in. Like,
Yeah,
bam. Most doulas don't do that. It's like
I know.
one visit after and you're done. And so to me, I'm like, well, I don't want that. Like, so I think she's got something really good going.
Yay. Yay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you made me so nervous when you were talking about how great your mom and your partner were at your first 2 births. And I'm like, oh crap, like why? I'm like, she obviously wants a doula because, well, I mean, this was like a role play thing too. But I was like, what do I say to that? Like, because she already just said that she had like great support for her first 2 births. But I feel like then when you started talking about kind of wanting the advocacy piece, I kind of took a deep breath and I'm like, oh, okay, like this actually is really aligned. And I mean, I know it was like role play and everything, but like it was really helpful to do that. So thanks, Lisa, for giving us the chance to do that and kind of get that practice because that's the first, I'll just call it a consult that I've had since kind of learning this heart method. So I haven't
Great.
even had a chance to really try it yet.
Great. No, that's perfect. And I do think that we'll have more opportunities for this, especially if you guys are getting a lot out of it. Um, and that's why I just like so appreciate like real honest feedback because this is new. Like this is I am very excited to have a group of women willing to do this because in the past I've asked if people are willing to do this and they're like, absolutely not. I am not doing that. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm not doing that. And so you all are just very open to it, which is amazing. Um, so I just want to clarify, Danielle, in the very beginning with the I want to jump right in because that is very much something I do. Did you have thoughts on like how that could have been a better transition? I just want to make sure that like because I know that I definitely Eva's getting that from me. And I want to make sure that like we refine it so it works for everybody, you know?
So at least for me, when somebody does that, I feel like, oh, we're going straight into sales mode. Like,
Okay.
and so I kind of want to shut down a little bit. That's why I was like, sure. And
Yeah.
then I was like, so, what are your goals for your birth? And I was like, oh, I
I
can talk about me. Like, if I'm in the consult, you better believe I want it to be all about me, 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 me.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
and so I never say that. I usually, hey, how's your day going? Whatever. And then it's like, okay, so tell me how you're feeling. Like, how's their pregnancy going? That's usually my first question. Or if they're
Yeah.
already postpartum, like, hey, you're on a consult with me for postpartum. Obviously, things aren't going the way you would like. So tell me what's going on. And like I just dive right in that way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah,
never had that, I guess.
I just
With
wanted to preface that with like, so I don't want Lisa to feel bad about like the method or
I don't
anything.
feel bad.
Um, I was trying it, but I also was like, my consults are usually like an hour long, even though my clients usually only use like 30 minutes of that. So I'm also rethinking that completely because I feel like that's really long and a lot of my time for somebody that
Yeah.
often does not hire me. Hopefully, I'll be getting hired more
Yeah.
going forward. But
Totally.
so anyway, but like 20 minutes felt like really short to me because I'm not used to that. So I
Totally.
probably like I wanted to ask more questions, but I was also like, oh, we only got, and I wanted to get through the whole method. So like I probably would ask more questions even with the heart-led method, just like
Yeah.
a few and then kind of dive in. If I don't know if
Yep.
that would like kind of cushion that a little bit more,
Yeah.
Danielle.
felt like you asked plenty of questions. It was just the first question that you asked me after you said, "How was your weekend?" And then you were like, "So you said something like, can we dive right in?" That
Yeah.
was like that's the one that threw
Yeah,
me.
a
And
little harsh.
yeah, but then everything's just like flowed so naturally from there. So I felt like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think she did wonderfully, like knowing what I know about having used the method myself, and then um like I used it as practice for myself too, because I am considering, if we have a third, actually hiring a birth doula.
Yeah.
Um, so she made me really think too about like, I mean, I was very honest, like, I really want somebody that's going to advocate for me and be my eyes and ears. And she asked me to like clarify, like, well, what does that look like
Love
to you?
that.
You know, and I didn't say I was a doula, like maybe I should have said that, like as part of it, like, but everything else was 100% like me and what I'm looking for if I were to hire
Awesome.
someone.
Yay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think like the moral of the story, to just talk on the number of minutes and things, like there's never a perfect amount, but I would definitely say even my experience, the sweet spot for me is like 35 to 40 minutes. And then in my mind, like if an extra 10 minutes is literally like paperwork or details on like what the next step is because this woman has said like I'm in or whatever, then I don't really count that. But I would say like 35, 40 minutes is usually a very good sweet spot, um, where you've asked the sale and handled some objections and kind of like know where you're headed from here. And obviously, give or take 5, 10 minutes, but I agree with you, like an hour is long. And with the 60 minutes in my experience, when you start to get over that 40-minute mark, it could almost be like detrimental. And it's feeling like that's kind of where you're like, yeah, that's a lot of my time. So the dive right in stuff works really well for me, but I feel like we all have to find like our own unique way of doing that. And I just don't want to put any like right or wrong on it because it kind of depends on like how you're feeling. But that's really good feedback for sure, for sure. Awesome. Okay, Maggie, I'm gonna give you a moment, since Rachel's not here and she can watch the replay and like just give you the stage to chat about what you need too.
Yeah, so we didn't role play because I was like panicking and I was like, I was hoping we would do it in a group setting so I could
Okay.
watch y'all and then be
Oh,
like, I
sure.
just don't want to go first, like, and then
Yeah.
everybody be more confident. But
Yeah. Totally
we
okay.
I kind of picked her brain about, so before my consults, they all get like an intake form. So I
Yep.
learned like where they're located, when they're due, where are they giving birth at, who's their provider, what type of birth that they're wanting, is it medicated or unmedicated? So then
Perfect.
that gives me like a jumping off point when I get on the call, and that might be like, hey Tara, thank you for meeting me. I understand you're planning on giving birth in early December with Margie at Frisco Birth Center. I love Margie. She's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Um, but then like with my example from yesterday, when I asked her like what her pain point was, she didn't give me a lot to work with. So Rachel thought it was a good idea for me to kind of have some of those pain point questions in my intake form, be like, um, what I should have written it down, but it was more like what are your concerns for your upcoming birth, or what do you want to be different this time versus the last time? So then I have a minute before the call to kind of
Totally.
decide how I'm going to tackle that. And I
Yeah.
think that would give me like peace of mind before the call. So I'm going to add more questions to it.
Yeah, I love that. And if it is a second time mom, like I love making an adjustment to ask a question, whether it's on the consult or in the intake of like, what do you wish had been different? Or, where did you feel like the doula might have left some gaps? You know what I mean? To just kind of also arm yourself with like ways to really, again, differentiate yourself and be like very aligned choice. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. And would you say like right now at looking at like what's working and what's not for you, like that the part to put the most focus on is in that like digging section and getting like pulling those answers out, or is there like a piece of the method where you're like, this is where I get stuck or feel the most whatever?
I mean, I think it would be pretty easy for me to come up with the clarifying questions, like peeling back the onion in the moment.
Perfect.
I think just my hardest part is moving my brain from my method to the heart-led method because I've
Yeah.
done it the same way for 9 years, and
Yeah.
I probably have like 4 consults a week. So I just get into like my own script mode and just so,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's really just like a comfort zone
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And maybe it's worth taking a look at your current structure and seeing like what makes sense to keep, like because this is not like a very hard and fast script, right? Like we are going to go off script all the time based on different
Yeah.
situations. And so I feel like if you were to analyze the old way of doing things and say like, well, this was always working for me or felt really good energetically, or like I feel like this doesn't isn't something I should cut away, then maybe you figure out a way to like integrate. You know what I mean? For sure. Yeah.
I do think that where I always struggle at is talking about my package. And
Yeah.
something that really helped me is when I had AI kind of help me. I like how it wrote, like, which is, you've said this too, but like how to talk about your package without like listing it, because that's where I feel like I lose people, and I've said this before,
Yeah.
but I think what I need to do is just sit down, because I didn't do my homework on Monday, but sit down, like write my examples of what works for me, because I always have my notebook with their info, and I always talk with my pen, so I don't feel like it looks rude for me to look down and read something, because then it looks
Yeah.
like I'm taking notes. So I think that
Totally.
that would help my brain.
I love that strategy. I do. Um, Yeah, I think that homework assignment's going to be great for all of us, like to just sit there and say, like, here's the feature, and this is what they're going to feel after they complete that or go through that process or take those steps. And something that has come up a lot recently that I wanted to somehow integrate into here, I'm not sure how yet, is looking at our contracts and helping those become a strategic sales tool as well. So maybe it's kind of like if we know that a lot of the nitty-gritty details are going to be answered in the contract, and we've really taken the time to make that easy to understand and easy to read, with all the legal jargon and all the things, but like then maybe that will take some of the pressure off of us to have to list out all of the facts, and we can stick with talking about the benefits and the emotions, right? So that's another thing to like kind of think about moving forward is like, let me sit with my contract and my consult framework and figure out how the two complement one another. And then maybe I won't feel the need to say every 6 weeks we're going to have a one-on-one, or like instead it's kind of like I have one-on-one sessions built into my package so that da 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 da. You know what I mean? Instead of like getting bogged down with all the facts. Yeah. There's a doula that I interviewed on my podcast who's just the master at that. And we don't agree on all the same stuff, which is okay, but like a lot of what she says, I really like. And I know she's cranking it as an in-person doula, so she's definitely got some things figured out, and she relies heavily on her contract to answer a lot of the detail questions. So that's definitely like another thing to look at within your whole system, I think. Love it. Okay. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this. Like maybe what I'll do is put together like an anonymous survey to just kind of make sure that like we're hitting on everything you need. And if there needs to be any tweaks, I can do that. But you know, I definitely think there's room to do more of this type of a thing with each other to just help get more comfortable and get more ready and take messy action and all the things. Yeah. Any questions? We have 5 minutes. I'm happy to stick around for 5 minutes. Any questions at all? Any like, hey, can you help me with this feedback or whatever? Jamie, I had actually written, awesome. I had written, not really, like I didn't spend more than 5 seconds, but I had actually put something that I was going to drop in the Telegram chat, and then we had our call, and then I forgot. Um, but you had asked, like, how do I follow up? I think you had asked about a follow-up question. Um, and what I am dropping in the chat is somewhat generic, but I'm thinking it could help you form a better version of this that's a little more specific to you. So I'm just gonna drop it there for you so you have it. But
I I
Thank-
also have kind of a follow-up related
perfect.
question. I feel
Yeah.
like I drop a lot of leads that maybe could end up at least in consults.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching a childbirth education class right now, and
Awesome.
it's a 4 week thing, and the second and the third week, which the third week was just last night, this one couple had been asking a lot of questions about doulas because obviously we talk about like you should hire a doula in there.
Yeah.
And so I just went up to them after class and was like, I just wanted to like kind of follow up with you guys since you've asked a lot of questions about doulas, see if you have any other questions, if you want to like talk to me further about it. And they were like really interested in hiring a doula. They asked for my business card, and we didn't like book a consult then and there, which I feel like maybe I should have, but I didn't want to like corner them. But the dad spoke up a lot, and he works in like finances, so he's definitely a numbers guy. And he said like they definitely want to do a lot, but that he's just like it's a lot of money, and like he does understand the value of it, and like wants me to be able to like get paid my full fee, but is like hesitant. So I definitely recognize that as like the where he's not understanding the full value
Yeah.
um objection. At least I think that that's correct. Um, because it sounds like they're on board, otherwise they just don't understand the value. So my next question is like we have one more week of class because I don't have their phone number or anything. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I technically do, but like I'm not in charge of like the registration. So I feel like that would be crossing a boundary to just like
Sure.
find it and like reach out to them. So next week's class is on Tuesday, and I want to like follow up with them if they don't already like approach me. And I'm just wondering like how to do that.
Yeah, great. And just curious, did you tell them your fee yet, or have they asked about the fee yet, or are they just kind of making an assumption about it being high?
They did ask about my fee in the middle of class, which I felt really awkward about, like
Yeah.
everyone, but I said it, and like so they know the fee, yeah. And like I think he understands, and it doesn't sound like they didn't say anything like, oh, we can't afford that. It just
Right.
sounds more like he was honest. He's like, I'm a numbers guy, I'm kind of stingy, and I just try to keep it like relatable. I said, yeah, I'm the same way, like I really am. I said I'm really frugal, I get it. But like I do have ways that we can make that more manageable if needed. And like, I'd be happy to like keep the conversation going. Here's my business card. And then kind of left it at that.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, and do you know anything about their story or their situation, or like, do you know any of the details or specifics about like them, anything about them that would help you kind of like, or are you really starting from square one because like that's not what the class is about?
I mean, I know like who their hospital-based midwives practice
Okay.
are, where they're giving birth. And then like we always have at the beginning of class like an icebreaker kind of thing. And so like questions like how like what surprised you with this pregnancy so far. So you get bits and pieces from that, like about their like
Perfect.
I think I have a good idea of like their personalities. Like he's a very numbers guy. She's a little more laid back. This is the first baby. So I don't know like a ton about them like I would from a consult, but I know probably more than I generally would going into a consult. So
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, I think After class, you can, walk up to them and, whatever, thank them for being there, like whatever feels aligned as far as like a closure type thing around like the class itself. And then maybe just saying something like, I've been thinking about like how intentional you both are about planning for this birth. And I wanted to offer to you, like, if you're still exploring the idea of doula support, I wanted to offer a consultation because it doesn't cost anything to talk through, like, what that support could look like and why it might help you achieve, like, the vision that you're, dreaming about for this birth. And then you could simply be like, no strings attached, but I'm happy to send you my calendar, or you could even say like I have two openings next week. If you want, I can lock that in with you right now if you have, because people can look right at their iPhone calendar, right? So I mean, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
they book something, but like whatever feels good to you. But really just kind of like phrasing it in a way where you're like, I'm not asking you to make any commitments. I'm just saying like, that's why I like the word like explore. Like, are you still exploring the idea of doula support? Because truthfully, like yes, of course they are, right?
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, like they're definitely not going to say like, no, we've completely closed ourselves off to that thought, right? And to just kind of get them to admit that they're still exploring the idea and like and you're so good with the advocacy piece. I'm wondering if there's a way to like weave that in specifically, like, or if there's anything about them
Yeah.
specifically that you can kind of weave into that.
She has, I don't remember what the question was that we asked at one point, but she mentioned advocacy like specifically. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I really like, it's great that I've got to kind of know them a little bit. And like, I really think they're honestly like a really good fit for me. And I think like I have not like an edge on other doulas, but since they have that relationship with me too, and like they know like I've taught them all of this, and then that would be so helpful too, just working with them because I already know that this is the education that they've had as a
Yeah,
baseline.
I love that. Yeah, I really say go for it. I feel like this is a win-win situation. Like if for whatever reason they're not willing to book a consult, like we learn from that, but my guess is they'd be open to having the conversation and maybe even phrasing it in a way where you're like if at the very least this consultation will help give you some direction into like where to put your focus next to really prepare for this birth, right? Like kind of give them that like outcome. Doesn't mean you're going to do a bunch of coaching. You're going to just do your normal consult, but I think like letting them know that they're going to walk away from that experience with some benefits even if they don't hire you could be really great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know how that goes. Jamie, thanks for your message in the chat. Oh, cool. In-person dual support. Ooh, that's exciting. All right. Well, let's definitely talk more about that. I definitely think that there is some room to talk through packages and talking about our packages. So I'm gonna write that down and kind of put that on the radar. But like what I've grasped today is like maybe we could all benefit from mapping out like what it really feels like to talk about our packages and how we can kind of like refine the way that we talk about it to make it basically more conversion ready. Okay, great. Okay, great. Awesome. Fabulous. I'll take a look at the Telegram too. Okay. All right, loves. Thanks for being here. And let me know if you need anything in the meantime. Otherwise, I'll hopefully see you Monday if you can. All right. Bye.